Hi, and welcome to the first module of this Digital Luxury Masterclass. In this module, I will answer the following questions. Why should you be interested in digital luxury? Who am I, and why am I teaching this class? What is luxury? And what's the history of digital luxury that led us to the point we're at today? When you think about luxury, you think about excellence, tradition, glamour, high price, and so on and so forth. I'm sure the first thing that comes to your mind is not digital, right? So then, why should you decide to invest some of your precious time into learning more about digital luxury? Well, let me tackle this question right now and share with you the main reasons why you should be interested in digital luxury. And then we'll dig deeper in each one of those reasons. In short, you should be interested about digital luxury for multiple reasons. Number one, it's a hot topic. Number two, it's a huge opportunity. Three, it's a rare skill. And fourth, it is a fun topic. So now let me tell you a bit more about each of those 4 points. First reason why you should care about digital luxury, well, digital luxury is a hot topic. If you work in luxury already, you know that all luxury brands are currently speaking about digitization. They're speaking about communicating online, selling online, taking into account new challenges that are brought by the digital transformation. And even if you're not working in luxury yet, you know as a consumer that luxury brands have been more and more active online in the past few years. And if we dig a little bit deeper, we can see that digital has become a real priority for many luxury brands. As you know, all public companies have to publish some financial reports. And luxury brands do it as well. And looking at financial reports from company allows us to understand what's really top of mind for this industry and for this specific company. And by looking at top luxury brands or luxury groups' financial reports, we can see that digital is top of mind for them. For instance, the 2020 annual general meeting from LVMH, the largest luxury group in the world, says that their priority is to, and I quote, enrich experience offered to our customers in our stores and online and capitalize on digital opportunity. So we see right away how digital is important for a luxury group like LVMH. But LVMH is not the only group to mention digital in their financial reports. In 2019, in their activity report, luxury group Kering has said, and I quote, "This tremendous momentum is driven by the brand's digital excellence, its content innovation, and of course, its exceptional collections." So here again, we see that the brand's digital excellence is listed as one of the key drivers of the brand's performance. A third example of that trend comes from Hermès 2019 annual report. The French luxury brand says, and I quote, "The digital flagship is now positioned amongst the best stores of the group and ranks first in numerous categories of products." From those selected examples, and once again we could have selected many other examples, we see that digital is a top priority for luxury brands. But even though digital is very important for luxury, there are still a lot of questions that need to be answered. One of them, for instance, is the media mix. As you know, luxury brands buy marketing from various channels and various type of media, from TV to outdoor advertising, magazines, and of course, digital. So in this digital transformation, many luxury brands have to answer the following question. Should we invest our marketing dollars online? How much of our marketing or media mix should we put online? Should we switch our TV investments to digital? How can we measure the efficiency of digital marketing? What is the return on investment of digital marketing? And so on and so forth. Another topic where a lot of questions remain unanswered is about commerce. A lot of luxury brands ask themselves if they should sell their products online. Should they sell all of their products online or just a selection of it? Should they sell it at the same price? How can they manage the difference of pricing between the countries? And so on and so forth. And last example is around experiences. We know that luxury is about amazing and exceptional experiences. So how can we use digital to recreate the luxury experience online or even to enhance the luxury experience and use some digital tools like augmented reality or virtual reality. And these are just a few of the questions that are unanswered. Other questions could include social media, omnichannel, Gen Z, and so on and so forth. And we're going to tackle all those questions during this masterclass. So all in all, you can understand how digital is a hot topic for luxury. The second reason why you should be interested in digital is that digital is a huge business opportunity for luxury brands. The global luxury market is around $1.4 trillion worldwide and is growing 8% every year. But behind this huge number actually exist very different situations between the various subcategories of luxury. And when we say luxury, we actually think about very different categories such as fashion and accessories, watches and jewelry, beauty, fragrance and cosmetics, luxury cars, luxury boats, hotels, spas, restaurants and hospitality, and so on and so forth. And even though digital will have an impact on each and every one of those categories, the impact will be very different from one category to the other. And throughout this masterclass, we're going to see through various examples and strategies how every category of luxury has a different digitization. A traditional objection that people have in order to challenge the importance of digital for luxury is to say that today only 12% of the total luxury market is actually sold online, and that it will grow to 19%, to around 19% in 2025. This percentage can seem quite small, and one could say that only a small percentage of the total market of luxury goods is actually sold online via e-commerce, and that's true. But the opportunity of digital for luxury goes way beyond this number. First, a luxury brand can benefit from digital not just from selling online via e-commerce, but also from communicating online and connecting online and using digital to connect with their audience. And then second, even though only 12 to 19% of the total luxury goods are sold directly online, in fact, digital influences way more of the sales of luxury goods. In effect, if we add to the amount of luxury goods that are sold directly online, if we add to that the luxury goods that are sold offline but influenced by an online touchpoint, such as, for instance, what we call the ROPO, Research Online Purchase Offline. So if we add up all those sales that are influenced by online and then that are actually sold either online or offline, then we quickly realize that 80% of the total luxury goods market is influenced by digital. And here we see that almost all luxury sales are in fact influenced by a digital touchpoint. And this is why digital is so important for luxury brands. And digital is even more important for luxury brands right now, as digital offers so many opportunities in the post-COVID-19 world. As luxury brands have noticed during this pandemic, stores can be closed, travel retail can come to an end, tourists coming from other countries can stop coming to countries in Europe or in America. And all this highlights the opportunities around e-commerce that becomes key when all the other channels are closed. Also, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced brands in general and luxury brands in particular to reinvent the way they were operating their stores and invent a new in-store experience that, more often than not, involved some digital touchpoints. So we see that the COVID-19 pandemic brought a lot of new challenges to luxury brands, but also showed many new opportunities for brands to connect with their audience in digital way. And this is why digital is a real opportunity for luxury brands today. The next reason you should be interested in digital today is that actually digital is a rare skill within the luxury world. And if we think about people who master the rules and the strategies of luxury, and the people who understand deeply how digital works and how to make the most out of it, we are actually facing two very different kind of people and two very different generations. This is why this masterclass is really a pioneer program that will help you to differentiate yourself on the job market when looking for your next adventure in the luxury world. And most importantly, digital is a learnable skill. Thanks to the masterclass, you're going to learn the strategies and examples and cases that will arm you to become a better luxury marketer and earn some rare skills that's going to be very precious on the job market. And let's be honest, it is difficult to get a job in the luxury industry today. It is a very competitive industry. But digital can be a way for you to differentiate yourself from all the other applications. And if you look actually at the job offers on a website like LinkedIn or any other job board, you see that very often luxury brands are recruiting more and more people who master digital skills. And today, there is not a single aspect of a luxury company that is not recruiting digital experts. If you want to do marketing today, more often than not, brands will want you to understand digital marketing. If you want to do CRM, more often than not, brands will ask you to understand eCRM. You want to do retail, you will have to understand e-commerce. You want to do HR, you will have to understand how your future employees and consumers are impacted by digital. So all in all, now is the best time to get the knowledge that you will need to have a successful career in the luxury industry. And let's do it together. Last reason why you should be interested about digital luxury is that it's actually a fun topic. The luxury industry is well known for its creativity, and this is an extra element that makes it so interesting to learn. And more than being only interesting, I'm going to prove you that luxury can even be fun to study, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. If you'd like to see some actual examples of luxury brands using humor or comedy to connect with their audience, then I strongly encourage you to check out my YouTube channel What the Lux, where I've published an episode that shows a selection of examples from top luxury brands that use humor to connect with their audience on YouTube. But also stay tuned for the second module of this masterclass about communication of luxury brands, where I'll share with you the best examples of brands that use storytelling via humor or emotions to connect with their audience. And what's going to be particularly interesting and fun in this course is that I will always use some recent examples from all categories of luxury brands, as well as retailers, startups, direct-to-consumer brands, creators, in order to make sure it stays fun and engaging. So, all in all, I hope that you're convinced, like I am, that there are many reasons why you should be interested in digital luxury today. It is a hot topic, as we've seen. It can be a huge opportunity, a business opportunity for luxury brands. For you, it is a rare skill, an additional line that you can add to your resume in order to have a successful career in luxury. And all in all, it's going to be a fun topic that you're going to enjoy learning and discovering together. So if you're like me and you're convinced that digital is an important topic for luxury, then let's jump right into it and learn more about digital luxury. In this section, I'd like to tell you a bit more about your instructor, myself. My name is David Klingbeil, and I'm happy to be your instructor in this digital luxury masterclass. As you can hear from my slight accent, I'm French, but I moved to New York City 2 years ago. I love to bring a creative touch to everything I do, and I tend to think out of the box. And there's a quote from Steve Jobs that summarizes my mindset, and it says, "It's more fun to be a pirate than to join the Navy." I tend to think of myself as someone quite versatile. I'm currently working for Google in New York, and prior to that, I've been an entrepreneur, a blogger, and a professor in business schools and fashion schools in France and in the US. I started to work in digital luxury more than 10 years ago, and I decided to start this masterclass to share my passion for digital luxury with you. I will share all the knowledge that I've accumulated throughout my career with you all along this masterclass, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So let's dive right into it. First, let's take a look at the agenda of the course. And in fact, a quote that could summarize the philosophy behind this course is a quote from the marketing expert Seth Godin, who says those words about marketing that apply very well to this class as well. He says, Marketing is doing work that matter for people who care. And this quote embodies two key concepts. Work that matter, on the one hand, so what does it mean for digital luxury? What is worth your time? What is impactful? What matters? And on the other hand, people who care. What about the consumer? Can we get insight into the luxury consumer's mindset? I think this quote summarizes well the philosophy behind this class. And here is the detailed agenda. Right now, we will talk about the introduction to digital luxury, and that will be the focus of our first module. The second module will be about branding and communication for luxury brands. Then we'll talk about luxury e-commerce and how to sell online in the third module. Fourth module will be about luxury technology, innovation and disruption. And last, we will have a full module about the digitization of retail and point of sale, as well as experiential luxury. As you can see, our agenda is packed, so let's dive right into it. As you might imagine, in order to master digital luxury, it is very important to understand what is luxury at first. And I'm going to try in this section to explain you and to give a definition of what is luxury. First, one has to understand that luxury is not new. It's not something that's been created in our modern era. Luxury actually has always been present. And even if it's true that the current form of the luxury industry that we have today is unique and it's a modern creation, it's also true that luxury has existed on one form or another throughout history. For instance, the oldest piece of codified legislation that we found comes from the Babylonian Empire. It's called the Code of Hammurabi. Has some traces of luxuries. It regulates the way people could use some specific kind of luxuries and shows that even in minus 1700 BC, people were already thinking about luxuries and creating laws to regulate them. Another example comes from the Egyptians that are well known to use unguent, which was a kind of fragrance or perfume that Egyptians used to put in their hair during specific ceremonies, and that would be seen today as the equivalent of a luxurious fragrance. Even some Greek philosopher has envisioned the notion of luxury and talked about it in very famous texts. For instance, Plato and Socrates recognized that luxury would not only be an inevitable element of civilized society, but also a defining one. However, the modern definition of luxury was more or less crafted under the reign of the French king Louis XIV. With his renovation of Versailles in the late 1600s and his establishment of a court culture with a strict and lavish dress code, the French king equated a man's possession with his power. And by doing this, he also put together an etiquette and a set of laws that would be defining in modern luxury. So luxury is not new. And one interesting thing to do is to look at the etymology, so the origins of the word luxury. What does it mean? Where does it come from? And actually, when we look at the etymology of this word, it shows that it comes from two different origins that shows the duality of luxury and the two meanings that luxury can have. First, luxury comes from the Latin word lux. Lux is the Latin for light. It means what shines. Things you can think about elements of luxury like gold, gemstones, also some kind of conspicuous consumption of luxury that shines in the eyes of others. But the other origin of the word luxury comes from the Latin word luxus, which means excess. And within the term luxury, we can already see that there is a social criticism of the notion of luxury. Because luxus means excess, what is too much, what is not necessary, and we see that luxury is both of those things. It's in the same time what shines and also what is not exactly necessary for life. So keep in mind, as we go through the modules of this class, that luxury has this dual origin and this dual meaning of lux and luxus. So by now you should have a good idea about how difficult it is to precisely define luxury. But actually there are two definitions and two meanings of luxury. One of them being the business or B2B meaning of luxury, and the other one being the more consumer or B2C meaning of luxury. And actually, it's pretty easy to define luxury in a business sense. We all know who are the luxury groups, such as LVMH, Kering, or the Richemont Group. We all know intuitively what is a luxury strategy, what is luxury marketing. We've heard about concepts like selective distribution or the pricing strategies of luxury brands. And in a business sense, there is no real debate about what is luxury, what is not luxury, what is a luxury group or a luxury brand or a luxury marketing or luxury strategy, and what is not. What is more complicated to define is the consumer or B2C meaning of luxury. Indeed, the consumer aspect of luxury is hard to define. And by doing a simple Google search, you could see that there's been hundreds of research papers and articles to define luxury. For decades, business researchers, journalists have tried to define what is luxury, what is not luxury, what are the components of luxury, what is the opposite of luxury, what are the different kinds of luxury, and so on and so forth. Also, it's hard to give a consumer definition of luxury because luxury can be different from one person to another. We talk about absolute luxury versus relative luxury. For instance, for some affluent people, the only true luxury is time or space. Another example, in the 19th century, people would get an orange as a Christmas gift, and it was considered as an absolute luxury, whereas today, oranges are considered as mass or very accessible things. So we see that the actual definition of a luxury product or a luxury service can define from one person to another. And last reason why luxury is so hard to define on a consumer standpoint is that the lines between what is luxury and what is not luxury in the consumer world are blurred. For instance, Apple is making phones that are expensive, that use a specific kind of craftsmanship, that are very good quality, and so on and so forth. We see that they share a lot of common characteristics with luxury goods. However, would someone consider Apple as a luxury brand? I mean, there's a debate on it. Some people will say it's a tech brand. It cannot be a luxury brand as most of the products are made in cheap labor countries. It doesn't have a true heritage or a true story like a luxury brand could have. But some other people would say, in terms of phone, the most luxurious phone you could get is a state-of-the-art iPhone from Apple. The second example that shows how the lines can be blurred between what is luxury and what is not luxury comes from luxury brand Hermès. Every year for Christmas, people rush into Hermès store to get Christmas gifts for their loved ones. And one of the things you could buy in an Hermès store is a $50 deck of playing cards. Is it luxury or is it not luxury? We all know that Hermès is a luxury brand. It's maybe one of the most beautiful luxury brands and the most iconic one. However, $50 is not that expensive and a lot of people could afford that. So it sounds like a mass product, even though it's expensive for a deck of cards to pay $50. So there's a debate. Is it luxury? Is it not? The debate is still open. And as long as we look at the definition of luxury from a consumer standpoint, it is actually very hard to tell if this is luxury or that is luxury or is not luxury. But if we want to try to actually define luxury, this is my favorite definition. And it goes like this. Luxury is the ordinary of the extraordinary and the extraordinary of the ordinary. It's not easy to say, right? But this definition shows the dual nature of luxury. Luxury is, in the same time, the ordinary of the extraordinary. So, if you imagine the lifestyle of the rich and famous, their lives are filled with luxury goods and luxury services. Think about haute couture in fashion, high jewelry in jewelry. Think about fine dining, Michelin star restaurants, spas and five-star hotels, and so on and so forth. And this is what the definition calls the ordinary of the extraordinary. But actually, luxury became a big market and an interesting business opportunity by going further than only the core of luxury, that is, the ordinary of the extraordinary. In the 70s and 80s, the luxury market expanded to other customers that are not the super wealthy or the quote-unquote rich and famous, and they expanded to more regular people who couldn't afford ultra luxury such as a private jet or or staying in a very luxury hotel, but that wanted to live a part of the luxury experience. And this is the second part of the definition, the extraordinary of the ordinary. For instance, I'm sure that many of you have never bought an actual Hermes or Chanel handbag that costs several $1,000s or euros. However, if you want to live the Chanel or Hermes brand experience, you can buy a lipstick by Chanel or a fragrance by Hermes and still get a taste of the brand's experience. And this is what the definition calls the extraordinary of the ordinary. Another example could be, for instance, buying a stay in a suite of a luxury hotel can be extremely expensive, several thousand euros, several $1,000s. However, many of you can afford to buy a tea time at a luxury hotel, where you'll get a part of the luxury experience provided by the hotel. And that's also an example of the extraordinary of the ordinary. And it's important to understand this dual nature of luxury because a lot of the communication of luxury brand comes from the ordinary of the extraordinary. They talk about how exceptional luxury goods are, the story, the heritage, how they were used by kings and princes and queens throughout the world and throughout history. However, a big part of the business of luxury, it's actually done in the other part, in the ordinary, in the extraordinary of the ordinary. And that's why it's important to understand this dual nature. And as we're getting closer to a real definition of luxury, I wanted to highlight the following quote from Bernard Arnault that shows a specificity of the luxury market. And it goes like this. In luxury, we produce in Italy and in France, and we sell to China, when usually it's the opposite. And this is one of the specificities of the luxury market that makes it so interesting and so relevant in regions such as Europe or America. Another thing to keep in mind as we're trying to define luxury is that the luxury industry is actually made of several categories that are very different. This is what I call the 50 shades of luxury. And when we think about marketing, strategy, and digitization, the way those categories behave is very different from one to another. And a category like fashion and accessories will have very different rules than another category such as watches and jewelry or beauty. And even though I'm convinced that all of those categories are impacted and will be impacted by digital, it's true that the digitization of each of those categories is very different from one to another. All along this course, I will share with you some examples from all of the luxury categories, from fashion to wines and spirits, hospitality, cars, watches and jewelry, and so on and so forth. And hopefully, you'll get a better sense of the specific rules and the specificities of each of those categories. But believe me, all of those categories, all of the luxury categories can benefit from digitization and can leverage the digital opportunity. Now, let's talk a little more about the history of digital luxury and how did we reach the current situation. In order to understand the current situation of the luxury market, and even to predict its future, it is important to understand the recent past of digital luxury. As Mark Twain famously said, always look twice as far in the past as you want to look in the future. And this is what we're going to do in this section. In short, the history of digital luxury is the history of luxury brands going from a total reluctance toward digital to a real frenzy around digital. And in order to understand the current situation, we're going to look at the three following steps. So first, the initial reluctance, then the first steps of luxury brands, and last, we'll talk about the current digital frenzy. Now, let's take a closer look at the first step of our journey, the reluctance. A bit more than 10 years ago, I launched my first blog about digital luxury. It was called Web and Lux. And I remember talking with the CEO of a luxury brand back then, 10 years ago in France, and explaining him that I was going to launch a blog about digital and luxury and how luxury brands could use digital to enhance the luxury experience. And I'll always remember the reaction from this CEO who told me that he didn't see what was in common between digital and luxury. And he didn't see how, at any point in time, luxury goods could benefit from digital. He didn't believe in digital communication. He didn't believe in e-commerce. He didn't believe in digitization of point of sale. And that was only 10 years ago. And I was very surprised because I thought that digital had revolutionized many industries, so why not luxury? And I know this sounds like a weird idea, but it was the mindset luxury brands had 10, 15 years ago, even though a lot has changed since. And one could understand this reluctance as luxury and digital were such different worlds. In effect, if we look at the underlying values of luxury and digital, they seem very different. Luxury is aristocratic, it's selective. Luxury is about tradition, heritage, craftsmanship. And luxury is expensive. It's hard to get. Whereas digital seems to be the opposite. It's not aristocratic, it's very democratic. It's open to everyone. Digital is more about innovation than tradition. It's about the next new thing, the next big thing. And digital, more often than not, is free or inexpensive. It's about open source. It's about freebies, and so on and so forth. And this clash of values can explain in some way the original reluctance of luxury brands for digital. One example of this reluctance can be seen in this quote from Miuccia Prada, head designer of fashion brand Prada and creator of the brand Miu Miu. And she said in 2013, so only a couple years ago, "We don't like e-commerce. I don't care. We think that for luxury, it's not right. Personally, I'm not interested." This would be a very surprising quote today, right? Well, in 2013 and in the years before, this was the mindset of luxury brands. However, as you know, a lot of change has occurred since these beginnings. And in this course, we will take a look at the many ways luxury brands have embraced digital. However, some pockets of resistance still exist in the luxury industry. One example of that is the luxury brand Chanel, maybe one of the most iconic luxury brands in the world. And even though Chanel is communicating online, and actually communicating online in a beautiful way, and we'll see many examples from that brand later in the course, well, Chanel is still not selling their core products such as handbags and fashion online. They don't do any e-commerce, whereas on their own website or on other websites. As you might guess, this reluctance from luxury brands didn't last too long, or else there would not be any need for this course. And actually, some luxury brands have started to experiment in the digital realm pretty early. Let's take a look at these first steps. One of the first luxury brands to launch its own website was actually the French luxury brand Louis Vuitton. The launch happened in 1998, and let's take a look at how the louisvuitton.com website looked like in 1998. I don't know what you think, but personally, I think it looks so vintage, a little bit kitsch with the colors, the pattern, and even the images. We can see that it's using the codes that were used by most websites back then in the end of the 1990s. We even see that they are recommending a specific browser and a specific resolution, and for the geek in the audience, you recognize that those recommendations are now totally out of date. And it's normal because it was in 1998. If we look at the beauty world, Sephora was one of the first retailers to open an actual online shop. And Sephora.com launched in 1999, which is quite early on. Let's keep in mind that Amazon launched in 1994 and was originally mainly selling books. So 1999, only 5 years after Amazon, is a pretty good performance for a beauty or luxury brand. But similarly to Louis Vuitton, the website aesthetics look very different from what we are used to from luxury brands today. And selling beauty products online in 1999 was revolutionary. Moving to the next example, one of the first luxury pure player retailer that was launched was a website called eLuxury and launched by luxury group LVMH. eLuxury.com began as an online luxury retailer in 2000, offering designer apparel and accessories, beauty and children's collection from such brands as Christian Dior, Marc Jacobs, Versace, Dolce & Gabbana, and Louis Vuitton. This online retailer was part of a huge investment by LVMH CEO Bernard Arnault into digital ventures via its funds Europe at Web. The website ended up not being competitive versus other pure players like Net-a-Porter and versus the e-commerce websites of LVMH brands themselves. eLuxury.com was closed in 2009, and we will look at it in much more detail in our module about e-commerce. Another great example of the first steps of luxury brands online comes from luxury brand Hermès. And with its first website launched in 2001, Hermès showed how a luxury brand can adapt its code to the digital world. We can see from how the website looked back then in 2001, how it was already using the DNA of the brand, such as the iconic orange box. We can also see that they were already selling some products from Hermès, such as scarves and fragrance, and in the US only. But it's interesting to see that in 2001, Hermès was already thinking about online commerce. The last example of the first steps of luxury brands online comes from jewelry brand Cartier, and is actually a pretty surprising example. Some of you might remember the social network MySpace, which was the ancestor of Facebook and which was mainly used by people to send messages to each other and to share music. Well, actually, in 2008, Cartier opened a MySpace page and was one of the first and only luxury brand to have its own MySpace page. Cartier had created a full universe around its jewelry line called Love and sharing musics and stories linked to the theme of love. This was quite surprising as no other luxury brand had ever ventured into the MySpace world.